All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Wahar Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders of the great millstone. And peace and salutations to the hopeful elect out here toiling in this truth. And Shalom to the few sisters, the Akwathium, who listen and learn in silence. To all of you, I say Shalom. I'm the brother Pathak Ahmad, GMS Dallas. And I'm just coming back at you with a really quick hit lesson. I'm going to entitle this one, Esau's World is Over. It's at its end, man. You know what I'm saying? This place is done. It's through. You know what I'm saying? We're on the verge of all hell breaking loose. Uprisings are going on in the earth, like it says in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter. You got nation about to come against nation. All hell about to break loose in these streets. You got kingdom about to come up against kingdom. World War III. Russia's got spy ships on the coast of America. NATO's worried. All these nations are on alert and alarm. NATO's worried because of Russia's new missile. Then you got the economy about to crash. You know what I'm saying? MAGA split. It's over, man. Esau's world is over. It's through. It's at its end. So, without any further ado, this is Matthew chapter 24. Come on, man. I know I mashed Matthew. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 3. And it reads, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privily, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" And as I stated in the heading, the title of the lesson, Esau's world is over. Well, this is that end that is speaking of right here, the end of the world. So the disciples are asking Yahweh Shai, when shall be the return of thy, the sign of thy coming and the end of the world. So when you go into this, let's get into this real quick. Let's go into the interlinear Salakia. Let's get this word world real quick. There it is, G165. As a matter of fact, let's let this double say it.
Strong's G165. I own.
There it is, I own. And these lessons are not new. We've done them before, but new proselytes, newcomers into the faith, and they come in daily. So we got to go over these things. So it's I own, and it outline of biblical usage. It says forever, an unbroken age, perpetuity of time, eternity, the world's universe, period of time and age. And that's the one it's talking about right there. And I own is a period of time and age, So the end of a period of time or a time period, the end of an age is what that's talking about. And this is Esau's time period. This is his age. When you read in the back in the heading in Genesis, the beginning, Genesis, the 27th chapter goes into two blessings. One to Esau, because he cried, he wept. And of course the eternal blessing, the kingdom, to Jacob, man. You know what I'm saying? So, and we're in that temporary blessing of Esau right now. You know what I'm saying? Up under these Edomites, man. The so-called self-proclaimed white man, woman, and child, who are the biblical red Hebrew Edomites, man. You know what I'm saying? According to the Bible, and this is their age. This is their time period, to rule, because it said, when you read in Genesis, the 27th chapter, they would have those two nations of people, Jacob and Esau, would be the only two nations that would have the pretty much the rule of the whole earth, the whole planet Earth, and we're in that temporary age time period right now as we speak, and we're at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? So that word world here, when it says, I'll read again, Matthew 24:3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately or privily, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? So again, that's that ion. It's not talking about the end of the earth. As a matter of fact, real quick, let's prove that. This is Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, and verse 4, and it reads, one generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. So the earth abideth forever, you know. Therefore, just backs the fact that that world is not talking about the earth. It's talking, in which we went into the word. It's talking about a time period, ion, an age, and that's the age of Esau. As a matter of fact, when you read in Hebrews, going into those blessings, the temporary blessing and the eternal blessing of the kingdom for Jacob, is Hebrews 11:20. It says, by faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. There it is, those two blessings. So, and that's what I was quoting in Genesis, the 27th chapter, man. You know what I'm saying? But both of them said that they were going to get the fatness of the earth and the dew from heaven from above. But Esau's blessing, he was going to rule with the sword. And of course, Jacob's blessing is the kingdom. You know, his brethren are going to serve him. He's going to have plenteous wine and corn. You know what I'm saying? Everything is going to be plenteous, you know, and work for the nation of Israel, you know, because they're going to be in their kingdom. You know, all of the blessings in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, you know what I'm saying, are going to come to pass because we're under right now. We're in the curses, you know, 15 through 68. That's what we've been under. You know, the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians of Negro descent. You know, we've been under the curses of 15, you know, Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68, which, as a matter of fact, let's get it real quick. Pursuant to, I don't want to quote everything, pursuant to Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, which we'll read real quick. You know, as a matter of fact, verse 1, the restoration promised, Deuteronomy 30:1, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse. So it was set up to go through both, bro. You know what I'm saying? Which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among the nations, whither the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua thy power hath driven thee. You know, so we were supposed to go through both. But when you drop down to verse 7, and we went through 15 through 68, and Esau has been in 1 through 14. So check this right here, because we're in a time of that, like that movie with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, you know, changing places. We're in a time of changing places. So it says, Deuteronomy 30:7, and the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And they're getting ready to do that. They're about to persecute us. They're getting ready to persecute us. So who is that talking about? It says your enemies, you know, which Deuteronomy 28 and 68 breaks that down. You know, you shall be, as a matter of fact, let's go to it. It's Deuteronomy 28:68, and it reads, the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, talking about here in America, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, talking about our homeland, and we haven't to this very day. It's been 500 plus years, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you or redeem you, because that's the Lord's job. The Lord is going to redeem us. So enemies are we were going to be sold to our enemies for bond men and bond women, slave men and slave women. So do the math, bro. Who were you sold to? These Edomites, man. You know what I'm saying? So, and of course, in other captivities, you know, that applies to these other nations, man. You know, and the scriptures go into that. What nation has not had a part in thy kingdom, you know, and taken of thy spoils? And the answer is none of, all of them have, you know, all of them have. So, you know, that makes all of them our enemies, bro. You know what I'm saying? But primarily these devils, man, you know. So But it said the curses are going to be put on them. You know what I'm saying? Which the two primary nations in this equation, in this movie, is Jacob and Esau, the nation of Israel, Jacob/Israel, and then Esau, the Edomites, you know what I'm saying, which are the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, make up the Israelites, and the so-called self-proclaimed white man, woman, and child make up the Edomites. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going on here. And we're in their kingdom right now. You know what I'm saying? So their world is at its end. That I own, that time period or period of time, that age is up, man. You can clearly see all the prophecies coming to pass. You can clearly see the signs. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's talking about. As a matter of fact, let's go to Matthew, the 13th chapter real quick, because it breaks it down a little bit better. From down to verse 40. This is Matthew chapter 13 and verse 40. Red letters, Yahushua speaking. It reads, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. This world, see? So when it says the end of the world, it's talking about the end of this world, So, and again, if you go into that word, it's going to be the same word, ion. This time period, this age, which is Esau's time, Esau's age. The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, Job 9:24. That's who's ruling right now, and we know who the wicked is. Malachi 1 and 4. You know what I'm saying? He's the border of wickedness. You know what I'm saying? So, and everywhere this devil goes, he establishes wickedness, and it tells you in Job 9:24 who that is. You know what I'm saying? He covered the faces of the judges thereof. That's why you have a false image of the Messiah in the earth, of everything, of all the people, of the Israelites, the Most High himself. You know what I'm saying? There's false images of these, of all these people, man. You know what I'm saying? In the earth. Why? Because they went into the book of the law, like it says in the Maccabees, and sought to change the image, the images to their likeness, roughly paraphrasing. So, yeah, man, that happened, bro. So we know who, with all of these things, we know who that's talking about, man. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. That's how he did it, and that's why you have people in the land to this very day claiming to be the Israelites who are not the people of the Lord, man. They're not the chosen people, Nothing, they don't line up with any of the prophecies. Nothing lines up with them, man. When you read in the scriptures, the Israelites were so-called blacks and melanated people, dark, brown, different shades of brown, man, and these people are pale. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, we know by way of scattering, mingling, that's, yes, some of them are going to be Israelites at the end of the day, but the majority of them are Edomites, man. You know what I'm saying? So the end of this world, Esau's world, man, that's what this is going into, that I own. As a matter of fact, let's just prove it. Let's go into it real quick. I have to take my word for it. Let's just go in there. G165. There it is. I own.
Strong's G165. I own.
So there it is. I own. So it's the same thing that we read in Matthew 24, man. The end of the world is talking about the end of this world. Esau's age, his time period, his time to rule the planet Earth. Job 9:24. Again, the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. Now, of course, we know, pursuant to how this devil has ran the earth, he's got to go, man. It's over. So real quick, let's get this in Sirach, the 10th chapter. I'll read verse 4 and then drop down to 8. Ecclesiasticus Sirach, verse 10, verse 4. Chapter 10, Salakia, verse 4. It says, the power of the earth is in the hand of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. And that one is Yahweh Shai, man. Lord willing, and joint heir, I can be part of that, part of the elect, man, that joint heir rulership, Let's jump down to verse 8. Ecclesiasticus Sirach 10 and 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. which is how everything this devil, all of that is this devil, man. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. There it is. So that translation, trading places, that translation is happening as we speak. We're in a process of that as we speak. This devil, his kingdom is going down, and the nation of Israel, their kingdom is coming up. So real quick, let's just get that real quick. 2nd Ezra chapter 6, and we'll get to the point in verse 9. The 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, it says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." There it is. Esau is the end of the world that I own, the end of the world, the end of this world. Esau's world. Esau is the end of the world. But Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. There were two blessings. We read Hebrews 11 and 20, and Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. Going back to Genesis, the 27th chapter, there were two blessings given. You know what I'm saying? The blessing of the temporal blessing to Esau because he cried, and then the kingdom of heaven to Jacob, man. So Esau is the end of the world. So his world is over. It's at its end, man. You know what I'm saying? So let's get this real quick. What's that? 1 Peter 4. And we're going to drop down to verse 7. It's 1 Peter 4 and 7. It reads, "But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer." Yeah, that's where we're at. The end of all things pertaining to Esau's kingdom is at hand, man. And I mentioned, aforementioned several things that just proving that we're there, man. The economy crashing, nation about to come up against nation, kingdom about to come up against kingdom. You know what I'm saying? MAGA is split. This place is done. It's over. It's Satan against Satan. Kingdom against kingdom. Salakia, Satan against Satan. How can their kingdom stand? How can their house stand? Roughly paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's over. It's done. Done data. Chalk it up. Let's get another one in Ezekiel real quick. Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 6. And it reads, "An end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come." Yep, that's it. All the prophecies are coming to pass, which of course, pursuing Revelation, the 19th chapter and verse 10, Yahushua the spirit of, man. Sirach 39 and 1, we're supposed to be occupied in prophecy. 2nd Ezra 15 and 1, the Lord says, "Speaking to the ears of my people, the words of prophecy." What's that? 1 Peter, is it 1 Peter? 1 and 19, I believe. We have a more sure word of prophecy. So everything's about prophecy, man, and the prophecies are coming to pass. Habakkuk. As a matter of fact, let's read that one. Habakkuk. We had Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, and we'll read verse 2. We'll start at verse 2, Habakkuk 2 and 2. "And Yahweh Shai answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it." And the visions are clear, man. You know what I'm saying? Those visions represents the prophecies, man. The tables are the pages of the Bible. The Bible is the tables, that he may run that readeth it, and that's what we're doing. We're modern day heralds, man. And we're running just like, what's his name? The red coats are coming. Damn, I can't think of his name. The red coats are coming. The red coats are coming. We're those modern day heralds. You know what I'm saying? In these times, we're the modern day spiritual forecasters, man. And we're warning. We're running that. We read these prophecies, and we were, again, the scriptures say about being persuaded by the terror of the Lord, man. By the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. That's it. And we were persuaded, man. And now we're out here persuading. Trying to persuade whoever this is for, it's going to persuade them. You know what I'm saying? So we're the ones that's running that readeth it. It says, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, and we're in the time of all the effect of every vision." Ezekiel, the 12th chapter. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read that too. It says, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So although it seems like it's taking a long time, just be patient and wait. And patience means to suffer, man. Just patiently suffer through it. The things you're going to have to go through. And it's coming, man. The end of this place is coming. It will not tarry. It'll be on top of us before we know it. Jacob's trouble is here. We're already in it. World War III is here. We're already in it. The mark, that C-hip, all these things are here. People are already getting it. It's already here. We're already in it. We're there. All these things are happening, which those are the last two, the final two prophecies that have to come to pass. The mark and Armageddon, World War III. So we're here, man. We're at the end. So real quick, Ezekiel, the 12th chapter, and verse 21. Ezekiel 12 and 21. And the word of the Lord, Yahweh Shah, came unto me, saying, Son of man, what is this? What is that proverb that ye have in the land of Israel, saying, the days are prolonged and every vision faileth? We just read Habakkuk. You know what I'm saying? Though it tarry, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not tarry, man. So these people thinking because it's been taken, y'all been saying that they did that during the time of Noah. Hush, Noah. You've been saying that for 100 years, man. Which they didn't realize that, hey, in 20 more years, he was still going to stay out there and continue to do it, But in 20 more years, because I think he was out there about 120 years, that the Lord was going to bring these things, you know what I'm saying? And he bought them. The flood happened. And all those people, you know what I'm saying, shut your ass up, What now? That we're in those times again, you know what I'm saying, where they finna shut their ass up, all the naysayers. All of those that's talking trash, that don't, they don't believe. You don't believe? Okay, well, wait. It will surely come. It will not tarry. So it's all good. But it says, verse 23, tell them, therefore, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh power, I will make this proverb to cease. It's going to come to naught. And they shall no more use it as a proverb in Israel, and say unto them, the days are at hand, and the effect of every vision. So yeah, the effect of every vision. That's why you're seeing everything. All these things are coming to pass because we're in the time of Ezekiel 12, man. This is what I just read, And, again, they did that in the time of Noah, during the time of Noah. And what does the scripture say? As in the days of Noah shall it also be in the days of the Son of Man. So these things are going to happen again. They're happening. Jake is rejecting it and talking trash. They don't believe, You got people out there playing games, changing up the doctrine and doing all kind of madness. Because at the end of the day, they don't believe, man. They don't have faith. They think it's a game. But the Lord is about to show, because he's, like he said, and the effect, the days are at hand, and the effect of every vision. So these things are here, man, and they're about to happen. So, what do I want? The end of Esau's world is the beginning of Jacob's, the Israelites. So let me get one, and then we'll end it on that. This is Jeremiah 29, and I believe verse 11. Jeremiah 29:11. And it reads, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith Yahweh Shai, thoughts of peace and not of evil. Because we've had our evil, man. When you read in the parable of the Lazarus and the rich man, man, he told the rich man that when he told him to send Lazarus, to dip his tongue, he's gonna want mercy. But the Lord, but what was he told? You receive good and Lazarus evil. Now everything is finna flip and switch, and now he finna receive. He's in Abraham's bosom. Now you've about to go through it, So it's your turn, E. Lamentations 4. Hey, bro, it's your turn, man. Jeremiah 49:12. You all together, he that is going to go unscathed, roughly paraphrasing, or unpunished, you shall not go unpunished, but you're going to drink of the cup, bro. They whose judgment was not to drink. Now it's your turn, which that's the Israelites. Now it's your turn, bro. So, but this is to the Israelites. Jeremiah 29 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Yahweh Shai, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. And what is that expected end? Let's get that and then we'll end it. Let's go to Luke chapter, is it 12 and 32? This is Luke chapter 12 and 32. Red letters, Yahweh speaking. It says, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. There it is. That's that expected end, man. You know, peace, no evil. You know what I'm saying? It's our turn, bro. So it is what it is. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, yeah, we're there, man. You know, Esau's world is over. His kingdom is fallen. It's at its end, you know. So with that, hope this was edifying to the hopeful elect, giving all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahar Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders of the great millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect, the house of David, the Bayath Shah Dawadat. Shalom.